Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to see art galleries in the 8th arrondissement of Paris. This particular area of Paris is so beautiful. I think it has more of an old school Parisian flair to it. The galleries here are more formal and they usually show more established artists, so we're in for a real treat today to see works by some art icons up close and personal. I'm staying in Le Marais, which is my favorite neighborhood in Paris, but it is a very quick metro ride to the 8th. I highly recommend utilizing the Paris metro when you're here. I find it to be very clean and safe and efficient. I'd also like to call out that it is uncharacteristically hot today, which I did not really pack for, so I had to make do with what I had, but at least we have beautiful sunshine instead of rain. And if you want to see more videos from this Paris trip, I will leave them linked in the description box below. I have visited some great Paris art fairs, such as Art Basel Paris and the Nada Salon, as well as some iconic Paris museums. Our first stop of the day is going to be Hauser and Wirth Gallery to see a show by Rashid Johnson. So Hauser and Wirth just opened the space last year and it is absolutely spectacular. Johnson is an American artist that is known for creating works that investigate interiority and self-reflection, and this show continues with that exploration. This exhibit is called Anima, which is a reference to animism, which is, quote, the belief in which all things, including inanimate objects, have souls. Johnson is very interested in exploring the space between the body and the soul in these works, and the show also marks an exciting evolution in his practice. He is showcasing two new series of paintings called Soul Paintings, which we see here, and God paintings, which we will see on the next floor, as well as a collection of bronze sculptures and a video work. While Rashid Johnson's depictions of the soul still feature distinct physical characteristics such as eyes and a skull and a mouth, he captures the invisible emotions and feelings that pulsate in and out of a person's being through this ornate array of lines jutting in and out of the object's features. When Johnson talks about his soul works, he says, quote, I was thinking about this idea of warmth, the idea of vulnerability, and how one begins the process of illustrating the soul. Upstairs, the exhibit continues with Johnson's God paintings and sculptures, as well as a video. So Rashid's God paintings featured this reoccurring Vesica Pisces motif, which is meant to represent something that we feel but cannot explain. So the form is, and the term of the form is Latin for fish bladder, because it represents a fish shape. And while this sounds strange or insignificant, it's actually a very powerful shape with a lot of powerful references. Some examples of this can be seen as a symbol of creation, unity, balance, of Christ, of mathematical elegance, and more. The symbol is repeated over and over horizontally, and Johnson creates this by carving it into red oil paint with a brush and a palette knife. Not only is this act meditative and a spiritual experience for Rashid, but the visual repetition is meant to be meditative for the viewer as well, inviting us to embark on our own spiritual journey. The sculptures in this room, which we saw a little bit earlier, are made of bronze, and they are chairs, which are arranged in a way that are meant to represent a community or a gathering of people and how we share experiences. Finally, we have a video work titled Sanguine, and this actually was my favorite part of the whole exhibit, which is surprising because I don't know about you all, but I feel like video art can be a real hit or miss. But this one is very powerful. The film is 6 minutes long in total, so I'm just showing you a few clips from it. But overall, it, quote, explores the relationships of attention and care among 3 generations of the artist's family: his father, himself, and his son. We're now going to head over to Gagosian Gallery to see an exhibit of works by Harold Ancart. So Ancart is a Belgian artist who used to be with David Zwirner, and within the last couple of years, he made the jump over to Gagosian and has had some really great exhibits. So this one is called Maison Ancart, and it features works that are inspired by the, quote, spirit of radical freedom and innovation of pioneering abstractionists such as Vincent van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, Ernst Ludwig Kirchner, and more. Many classic subjects of these iconic artists are represented in Ancart's work, such as mountains, trees, meadows, and ponds. However, for Ancart, it's less about the subject and more about just having a subject he can express through paint. It's really all about the paint for him. To create these works, he utilizes a vibrant color palette and oil sticks to get this incredible texture. They almost have a surrealist feel to them. My personal favorites from this show are the works that capture the pond that we saw in the entryway, the trees, because they've always and always will be to me the most synonymous with Ancart's work, and the mountain ranges. In fact, when we go upstairs where the exhibit continues, we'll see something really spectacular in terms of mountain ranges. As I teased earlier, this piece is the star of the show. It gets a whole gallery to itself. This is a triptych titled The Upper Reaches, which is over 25 feet wide, and it was inspired by how Paul Cézanne and Ernst Ludwig Kirchner captured various mountain ranges. Our next stop is Skarstedt Gallery, which has a very lovely space here in Paris. We're going to see an exhibit of works by Andy Warhol. And if you saw my last video where I visited the Louis Vuitton Foundation, you would have seen that there's a great exhibit about pop art featuring predominantly works by Tom Besselman, but also works by other pop and pop adjacent artists, such as Andy Warhol. So this exhibit is a nice celebration in parallel of that. The show is titled Who is Who, and it explores a really nice sample of ways that art history influenced Andy Warhol's work. The show traces his, quote, art historical appropriations through the 1970s and 1980s, which is meant to uncover new insight into Warhol's relationship to, quote, icons, both religious and secular. Warhol's reinterpretations of famous works from art history are significant because they both enhance their importance and secure his own prominent place within the art world. And this is something that we still see all the time in the contemporary art world today. Whether it's intentional or not, artists will reference famous pieces within art history as their inspiration in hopes of elevating their own works into the same stratosphere. The Mona Lisa was one of Warhol's earliest appropriations that he was inspired to create after it was on view at the Met in 1963. This one, in addition to his reinterpretation of The Scream, are my personal favorites of the show. Let me know if you have one in the comments below. Our next stop is White Cube Gallery, and I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but all of these galleries are extremely close to one another, which makes it easy to visit a number of them in a short amount of time. White Cube is just a few steps away from Skarstedt Gallery and their neighbors Mariane Ibrahim Gallery and Almine Rech Gallery, which we will head to after this. This is a show by the American artist Sylvia Snowden, and it features 10 paintings from Snowden's M Street series, which she created between 1978 and 1997. So the series is inspired by the Shaw neighborhood in Washington, D.C. It's a historically African-American community where Snowden lived and worked. The works document the lives of her neighbors, many of whom were transient, unemployed, or unhoused during a time marked by economic hardship, gentrification, and system neglect. What makes this series significant is the way that Snowden captured the struggles of these marginalized individuals. It was in a way that was bold and beyond traditional representation. As you can see, Snowden utilizes these bold, abstract, expressive forms in dynamic colors, and this is meant to represent these people's resilience, emotional depth, and maybe most importantly, their ability to survive in the most trying of circumstances. In general, Snowden describes her work as portraying, quote, the humanness of us all, often emphasizing our shared strength despite challenges. We're now going to head next door to Mariane Ibrahim Gallery. This is a wonderful gallery that has really beautiful spaces here, as well as Chicago and Mexico City. I've had the pleasure of visiting all of their locations. This is an exhibit by Carmen Neely titled Chronic Conditions, and it features a series of works that are meant to capture the emotional intensity of being diagnosed with a chronic condition, as well as the hope in that there is a, quote, world beyond a moment that feels painfully infinite. The works in the show blur the line between personal reflection and global issues, creating a space where vulnerability and strength intersect, offering a thoughtful exploration of resilience in a constantly changing world. The final show that we're going to see today, and I apologize in advance because I'm not sure how well it's going to be captured on camera, but this is an exhibit titled Path Taken by James Turrell at Almine Rech Gallery. So Almine Rech has multiple Paris galleries, and this is their most petite location, but it is perfect for this show, which is almost a behind-the-scenes look at how Turrell has researched various ways to use light since the mid-1960s, specifically how a human's perception of light can be altered. So an example of this is how he evolved from using neon to LED technologies. Downstairs, viewers can see a 27-minute film created in 1995 by the French filmmaker Corinne Asher, and it focuses on Turrell's exploration of the, quote, spiritual and cosmic dimensions of light. So the film dives into two of Turrell's most famous projects, the Rodin Crater and Sky Spaces. I thought learning about the Rodin Crater was absolutely fascinating. It is considered to be Turrell's most important work, and it's not yet open to the public, but it's built in this dormant volcanic crater in Arizona, and it's meant to be this monumental observatory that manipulates light and space to create this profound perceptual experience. And it represents Turrell's lifelong exploration of the relationship between light, time, and human perception. Since it's such a beautiful day, we've just been taking advantage of this, having a nice long walk through some of Paris's most beautiful parks that also just so happen to be conveniently located next to where we're going for lunch, which is Hotel Cost. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will have one more video documenting more art galleries in Paris. In my next video, we'll explore some really credible exhibits in the neighborhood of Le Marais, my personal favorite. So please make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss it. And I will see you all in my next video.